Hey everybody, this is Ralph Graves. Thanks for tuning in for another edition of the Ralph Graves Show. I am so glad to have you guys here. I know you guys could be watching anybody, doing anything at anybody's YouTube channel, listening on any podcast, but you chose mine, and that makes you the hero of what's happening. Now, today my guest is another dear friend of mine. He and I have coached football together, and we're going to get on here and we're going to talk about what's happening in the world today. We're going to talk about some racial things. We're going to talk about creating a culture in a locker room to kind of knock down some of these walls. And he's a dear friend of mine, ladies and gentlemen. John Small, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. How about you?
Good, man. I was so excited to get you on. I forgot to tell him where you coach, man. Tell him where you coach and what you're doing, how long you've been there.
I teach in Gloucester Township, and I'm the defensive coordinator and linebacker coach and offensive line at Highland.
All right. Yeah, that's Highland, New Jersey, everybody. It's a global program.
Highland Regional, yep.
Highland Regional here in South Jersey, and I've had the pleasure of knowing him for some years now, and this man is truly one of my brothers. I ain't gonna say like a brother. He is.
No question about it.
We definitely have that kind of love for one another, man.
Absolutely.
And, it saddens us. It breaks our hearts about what we're seeing today. And he's been blowing up my phone, and we've been talking. And I'm going to say this to you, and I'm going to put it right out there right from the onset, because this show is a little bit stronger than my last ones. Out of all of my white friends, you were the first of only 3 that reached out to me.
Well,
first of only 3.
Never even hesitated.
Yeah. But the first, and it's odd, man. You know, I pastor a church, man, and I'm around Christians, white and black evangelicals, and not one of my white pastor friends reached out to me and said anything to me. And I think, there's something special about that bond, that football.
No, there's no question.
Something special about that locker room. You and I have gone to war together. We've warred against each other in high school.
High school, yep. Absolutely.
We've gone to war together, man. But it's something about that bond and coaching. How many years have you coached, Coach?
This will be my 29th.
29 years.
Yep.
29 years.
Yep.
And you coached boys, men of every color.
Yep. No question. Yep. And that, that's the reason that I'm so involved in this, and I mean, Tony Dungy, if you saw what he tweeted out today, I mean, he may have said it the best. And I think the biggest roadblock right now, I mean, besides this current situation that we're in, is just the communication. I think there's a communication gap, and it's been here for 200 years, man. And it's always been here. Will Smith put out there the other day, this has always been here. It's just being videoed now. That is so true, man. If we didn't get to witness George Floyd being killed, or we didn't get to see Ahmed
Marbury,
a couple weeks ago, that happened months ago and just became public. Right. I mean, that made me sick. This made me sicker.
Yeah.
And it's just, sometimes, as a white male in this country, I'm embarrassed and I'm ashamed. And I know I apologize to you, and you told me I have no reason to say I'm sorry to you. But, it's just there has to be somebody to lead from the front here, to step up. And instead of pointing fingers back and forth at each other, let's look at the responsibility. Yeah. From a white race, let's look at the accountability. And let's start that back and forth talk. Like somebody said today, people don't want to have these tough discussions.
Right.
But some of us do.
Yeah.
Some of us do. I'm here because of you. I'm here because of Dave Johnson. I'm here because of the Inges down in Williamstown. I'm here because of those kind of people. Plus, every kid I've coached or taught that I care about that have reached out to me, Mike Daniels,
right.
People like that. Like, what kind of man am I if I'm silent on an issue that I feel strongly enough about, just because I'm afraid to stick my neck out and speak the truth?
Right.
Now, once again, what I'm telling you is my opinion. It's how I feel.
Yeah.
I know we were going to talk about this, but I'm on a rant now. But the Drew Brees situation. Okay.
Yeah.
There's nobody that loves our military, our country and the flag that represents that more than I do.
Yeah.
But what we're missing here is, and Drew missed this when he made a comment yesterday. That's not what this is about.
Right.
If me and you were part of a SEAL team and we're going door to door in Baghdad and you're the point man and I'm coming in behind you, I got your back, you got my back, and we're brothers, man.
Right.
And it doesn't matter if you're black, white, or whatever. Now I understand a lot of people are voicing that, my dad was in the Army, he didn't fight a war, but he was in the Army.
Right.
And I certainly support our military and all that stuff. But, from what I was reading today, and it's something that I didn't have to live growing up, man. I grew up in Runnymede, predominant white town. I think I graduated 8th grade with 3 black kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, I wasn't raised to like black people or dislike black people. What I did was I always tried to do what I thought was right. And to me, I always used to say that I didn't see color.
Yeah.
And I actually learned this year, once again, it's a learning thing. It's communication. From Alicia Inge, who was a teacher at my school, and her kids are, studs down at Williamstown down there. But, she said we do see color, and it's okay to see color.
Right.
I actually texted her that night. We talked about it because I meant it as a compliment.
Right.
When I said I don't see color, I meant it as a compliment.
Right.
I didn't mean it in any derogatory way whatsoever, but it's okay to see color.
Yeah.
But what I do is I'm going to judge you off your character. I'm going to judge off who you are, not the color of your skin. And that's never going to happen, man. Yeah. And it's just, it's how my kids are raised. That's how we live. It's how we function. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah. Man, your heart, man, I hear your heart all in this conversation. And those who are watching, you'll notice, man, he is all heart. He is all passion.
Sometimes that gets me in trouble.
I was talking to a mutual friend of ours. You remember Andy Kennard?
Oh, love Andy's a great guy. Yep.
Andy called me, man. Andy called me 2 days or yesterday. He called me. And he just said, Ralph, he said, man, what do I need to do? He said, I've just been so ignorant to so many things.
Yep.
Once again, a football connection, not a church connection.
Absolutely.
I was a police officer for 20 years. None of my white buddies who I patrol, none of them called me, and just to know that you are understanding that we live 2 different experiences.
Right.
Just to hear you say, Ralph, listen, I never lived it, but what can I do? I see your heart hurt. I'm seeing these wrongs. And so let's go to the locker room. Let's go to the locker room. We're so game plan, this guy, this defense. But now we have a new thing that we have to do, a new dimension. We have to now create an anti-racist culture in the locker room.
Now, I do think, and I've said this for years too, besides the military, I don't think there's another bonding brotherhood building than football.
I believe that.
It's just, it's unspoken.
Yeah.
Unspoken. When we have kids over here, the Highland kids come over here that are friends with Brad. The one kid slept over the entire freshman, sophomore year that they were there. It's not, Brad's black friend sleeping over. It's his teammate. It's his brother. Yeah. The kid calls me Pops. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I don't, ever, look at a kid. And once again, I'm going to say I don't see their color, but I do, but it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
That's never going to be a deciding factor in how I treat you. And you personally know that. Yeah. You know what I mean?
So we create that. So we know that culture exists in the locker room.
Right.
How do we, because when we have their attention, I mean, listen, nobody influences your life like a football coach. Now, I don't play basketball. I don't know about that. But a football coach, we all remember our coaches.
Absolutely.
So how do we create that culture of anti-racism? We know that's easy within the team, but now how can we create that culture to where we take that guy, that white kid, who in the frame of the locker room is anti-racism, but then he goes home. How do we influence him to depart to where outside of the locker room he begins to stand up and say, maybe he sees some things now that, no, man, I'm not saying that. I'm not doing that. That won't happen here. I think we as coaches really need to understand our influence.
Yeah.
and really need to say, hey, listen, you've got to have the right character on the field, off the field, when you're home. You know, if even some of our kids, man, listen. I know the kids you coach, all right? Very diverse backgrounds.
Yeah.
You don't know what happens behind closed doors.
Absolutely.
As a police officer, I've seen some horrific things happen in some very nice homes.
Right. I know.
You know,
I got you.
I've seen some rundown homes that were lovely. You know what? I call those other places houses. They weren't homes.
Right.
But so you never know. So how do we do that? Because now that this really adds to your job. How do we say, listen, guys, you can't not only act like this here, but out in the world, you got to conduct yourself, because you're sending these kids off to college, man. And some of these white guys that you send to college might end up in a college where they're going to see all kinds of diverse people.
Yeah.
You cannot take.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, I've seen a couple, and I posted a couple pictures of, you know, a little black kid and a little white kid either hugging or talking or playing. And I feel so strongly about this. It's you're not born to hate.
No, you're not.
When you're a child, you literally don't see color as a child.
Right.
And it's something that you're taught. So when we're part of a team and we're part of a locker room, of course there are going to be those phony kids that are able to turn it on and turn it off and go home. And, you know, I mean, I saw a thing yesterday with a Williamstown kid yelling the N-word and giving the finger and riding in a car. I mean, disgusting, man.
Yeah.
Disgusting. And my only hope is that some young, good black kid down in Williamstown doesn't go after that kid and wind up getting themselves in trouble because he's a racist scumbag, basically. And to me, you know, even with all this looting and everything that's going on, like when I see that, you know, I mean, you know, George Floyd's brother came on and said, George don't want this. This isn't what he was about. He don't want all this violence and stuff like that. But when I see the looting, you know what I say to myself? I say, when white America sees people doing that, they're like, see, told you. Look at them. Look what they do. Look how they act. You know, and right away it's like, damn, that, you know, like, you know, you're being labeled by, you're doing exactly what white America and the people that want you to do bad want you to do.
Yeah.
And it drives me crazy, man. And I wish I could go out there and just stop. Just everybody stop.
And with the looting, I have my own take on it. As protesters protest, looters loot, thieves thieve.
Right.
I don't think the looting was necessarily started by those protesting. I saw you know, interviews with police officers that said, hey, listen, this ain't even the people from the Black Lives Matter.
It's ridiculous.
You know, these are white supremacists and some other things starting the trouble. It's just part of it, you know. And so we're very careful about. Now, I had to have this conversation with my grandsons yesterday. They go back to your point where kids really don't understand what's happening. They don't even understand why they're not liked.
Yeah. And one of the things that impacted me when we first talked after this happened was, you know, when you said you had to sit down and explain it to your grandsons.
Yeah.
That hit me right here, man. It really did. And to go back to another point, back to what Alicia Inge was saying the one day at school. And, you know, I think we have 3 black teachers in our school, you know, and we're probably 50-50 mixed race in our school. So they don't really have that black role model to turn to as a teacher. Right. But she's certainly one of them. Right. You know, she's certainly one of them. And what she said was, you know, my son, like my kids are good kids, just like your kids are good kids and her kids are good kids. But if your kids walk in a Wawa at midnight, everybody's like at attention, man.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, there's a black kid in the Wawa. Like, ooh, my kid could walk in there and go get a Gatorade. Nobody even bats an eye at it. And that is what people that aren't getting this don't get. Yeah. You know, that's what this is all about. That exact right there.
Right. You're right. It is. You know, not my kid, me. I walk in the Wawa.
Yeah.
You know, I have to be careful. And all black men have to be careful where we go. But we've lived under this. I'm 52 years old. I lived like this for 52 years. And it's something that maybe my white friends don't understand. You know, I got to cut my grass with my wallet in my back pocket. You know, because
why is that?
Neighbor calls the police, somebody not familiar. Hey, there's a black guy at my neighbor's house. The black guy cutting grass. I don't know who he is. Or maybe I forget my key. My son forgets his key. He's got to sit at the front door. I can't go in the house and get my wallet because if the police don't know me, they're not going to let me go in there and get. So now I got to go through this whole rigmarole at my house because I didn't have my wallet in my pocket while I was cutting the grass. Now,
dude, that makes me so sad
yeah,
to hear you say that. That's like that's something that I've never had to deal with. You know, I grew up poor. We were on welfare. We had food stamps, but you know what? I was a white kid, so I was judged differently.
yeah.
Had it been you in the same neighborhood living next door to me, you would have been judged differently than I would, even if we're in the same situation, and that's not right.
Yeah, and so we have to, the strategies, you know, we move somewhere, the first thing I do, because I'm ex-law enforcement, I call the police over, we just yuck it up just so they're from, oh, now, you know, Ralph lives there. But a lot of black folks don't know these strategies, you know,
Right.
my grandsons, because I know, unfortunately, how they're going to be looked at as they get older. You know, they're going to go from being cute to being scary. I don't know when that happens, but they are. And so they're involved in police explorers. They're involved in all these things just so that local law enforcement know who they are.
Right.
Because
So where do we start, man?
Man, we start home. We start with our police chiefs. We start with our politicians. We start with, hey, listen, it's not, it's not enough not to be racist. We've got to be anti-racist. It's not enough. It's everything. Sensitivity training to, as a police officer, I would get out of the car and have a catch with the kids playing ball. You know, even when I dealt with people that were bad people,
right.
I was skilled in verbal judo. You know, if I had to put my hands on you, I would. But most of the time, after we get done talking, you know, it is what it is. But I would never arrest a man in front of his children. I would never put the cuffs on in front of his kids. I was walk to the back of the car, stay here. So it's just, you have to get out in the community. And even, John, if you don't understand, tell the black community, I don't understand. Right. Trying to understand.
Right.
Even though this is not about the flag, even when it comes to the flag, understand that how whites see the flag and how blacks see the flag is two different ways, and they both might be right in their perspectives.
Right.
You know, you've been hearing it all day. You know, your grandfather comes home from the war, he's celebrated. Mine comes home from the war, he's back in the bus. He still can't get a job.
It's awful, man.
He still called a nigga. He still did all those things, you know. And after he in the foxhole, they're equal. You know, when they're fighting, they're equal. But if they come home, that red on that flag that represents blood represents ours too. But to come back to a country who don't even, you know, it's, you know, systemically, I should say, has a racist system. And so one of the things, man, we have to kind of tear down that system. And it took all of this for us to have these conversations.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping that George Floyd's death, and I know today was a memorial service and those things, but for that not to be in vain, for as awful as that was, I think this has to be a step in the right direction. But it's going to take somebody, and you know, once again, from the white side, from the white race, to step up and say, and I'm not saying I'm a hero or it's going to be me, but I'm just saying I'm willing to do my part. And if I could take one person and change their mind, and one other person, they change, and it becomes a cycle effect, now we're getting somewhere.
I do have to ask you this question, man, because it's bothering me, and I guess I could reach out. But how come none of my white buddies call me, man? No.
You know what?
Ones who say they love me.
Well, listen, once again, I'm, you know, as straight a shooter.
Yeah.
Wear my emotions on the sleeve.
Right.
Honest, loyal.
Yeah.
I'd never even hesitated.
Right.
When it started going down, you were right at the top of my list.
But
you know, and I think, I don't know if it's a fear. I don't know if it's a communication gap. I don't know if it's you know, once again, do people want to have that awkward conversation?
Right.
Me with you, I didn't even hesitate. Boom, boom, boom. Ralph, I'm sorry, but you don't have to apologize. Like, I was willing to stick my neck out and have that conversation with you.
Yeah.
It didn't matter that you're black, I'm white. Or I was calling my brother, make sure you're okay, man. But not everybody feels that way, man. Listen, all these people that were posting the black boxes yesterday and the BLM all over the place, where have those people been the whole time, man?
Yeah.
Go back through my stuff. I posted stuff 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 8 years ago. Wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. I just, I want to, you gave me a platform tonight, and I thank you so much for that, to be able to, here's my face.
Yeah.
Told you, I coach at Highland. You got a problem with me speaking up? I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm here, man. And I'm willing to lead from the front. And I'm willing to, to be the voice of something's got to change. And guess what? It's never going to change until we change.
Yeah.
We change. We can point the finger at you all we want, but that's not the problem, man.
It's my son is angry right now.
Yeah, you told me that.
27 years old, man.
I know.
He's angry at everything going on. He's angry that none of his white friends have reached out to him. He's angry, and I don't know what to tell him, man. I understand his anger. I don't know what to say to him. I just say, man, listen, this channel in the right way. I can't tell him that it's not real, because it's real. I'm like, hey, my white friends ain't call me either,
But he's 27 and you're 52. So
right.
I'm not saying you can handle it better, but you were probably more prepared. Guess what? My white friends ain't reaching out to me.
Yeah.
Like, you were prepared for that as a 27-year-old with the crazy world that's around him, and everything he's seen in his life already. Maybe he expected more people to step out from behind the curtain and say, "Yo, man, I'm here for you, dude. What do you need?"
What do we do with that? What do help me? Do I now just chalk it up that my season with them as friends is over? Because it's they're showing that, hey, Ralph could be hurting right now, and are they showing me who they really are?
Well, see, I mean, no pun intended, but people show the true colors, man.
Yeah,
and that's the bottom line, And hey, listen, I'm a white guy.
Right.
I am who I am. You're a black guy. You are who you are. But I mean, I couldn't feel any differently about you than if we were brothers.
Right.
And that's fact.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, the differences are our skin color.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that anything else should be anything less.
Right.
I've always felt that way. I'm always going to feel that way.
Yeah.
I care less.
Yeah.
I care. I've said this all the time, and my kids say it. I mean, Brad and Brielle were little when we were at Deptford together and stuff like that. But they're like, "Oh, Ralph, anytime something racial comes up or something that bad, your name comes up." What about Ralph? What did Ralph? Right? It's like all the time, man. And I mean, that's certainly, kudos to you, because that's the impact you made on them in a short period of time. I mean, I stayed in touch with them, but you haven't seen them much. But and I mean, a couple incidents. My friend Dave Johnson. I don't know if you remember Dave. He played at Eustis. He was my year. Yeah, he went to Boston College, stuff like that. But we were real good friends with them. His wife was white, so his kids were mixed race. And we went to a 4th of July party at Cooper River with them.
Okay.
So my kids were little, not that little, but little enough. And we jumped out of the car, and I went over with Dave, and we're grilling and drinking some beers. It's 4th of July. My kids just took off.
Yeah.
We were the minority there, man. I mean, it was, those black families, when you have those big cookouts, man, people come from everywhere.
Right.
Everywhere. So not one time, we got back in the car, we went to Haddon Township for the fireworks that night. Not one time did one of my kids go, "Hey, we're the only white people here. Hey, like, this is weird." Like, no, they just went and played, man.
You're in a different culture, man. You raised them differently. You and your wife you guys weren't playing that. And it's the proof is in the pudding. I mean, you have a beautiful family. You got one son that's a police officer, and I know his heart.
Yep.
And I'm just hoping that well, folks that don't know him, they won't know his heart. He's a tall kid. He's a white kid, so they're going to think he's part of the white Nazi system. And I know that's not true. I know
No
that's
way.
true with him.
No way.
You
Yep.
know, you
I
know,
mean, he couldn't be more the other way.
yeah, yeah. I mean, he's a fair man, just like his
Yep.
father is, man. And so I'm praying for you guys, man. But you telling me that story, but I know how the kids were raised. So
Yep.
it's I just and I know they will raise their children the same way. I
No
know
way.
they marry people of the same values.
Right.
I don't see them marrying people who don't believe what they believe just as strongly. I don't
Yep.
see them going differently that way. But it's just from being a man of influence that you are. You not only influence the kids you teach, the kids you coach, but you influence who they know. And so, man,
Yep.
I just appreciate what you do, man, and how you do it, and using your influence in a great way to,
I
to really
appreciate
kind
that.
of break down this barrier and knock down these walls, man. And we may not ever see it in our lifetime, bro, but we could do our part.
That's it.
You know,
And like I said, I know what my position is as a middle school teacher. I mean, I take those kids in health, and and I sit there and I look at my class, and the 3 videos I show, if we have like a video Friday or something like that, I show radio to my 6th grade. All
yeah,
right, racial, somebody with a disability.
right,
All right, how do we treat them? How's it starts out bad, ends good.
yeah,
Remember the Titans to my 7th grade.
yeah.
One of my favorite movies of all time.
It's all of our favorite movie. Yeah,
Oh, without a question. I mean, you got the football, so many lessons in that movie. It's ridiculous.
right,
And
right.
in 8th grade, I show The Express, the Ernie Davis story.
Gotcha.
And,
Gotcha.
and I mean, and there's a reason for that, because what it does is it allows me to talk to them. It allows a white male, when they
Right,
don't have a lot of black role models, it allows a white male to come to them as their mentor, somebody they look up to, as somebody that they respect. They
yeah,
may not like me. Some of them don't like me. I don't really care. I mean, that's how it goes. But
yeah,
they respect me. And when we're talking about race, or we're talking about dealing with somebody with disabilities, or we're talking about bullying and things like that, and it kind of all ties together into somebody's character.
yeah,
What's your background? What's your character? What are you made of? You see
right,
somebody being bullied, whether they're white, black, or polka dot, are you going to step in and stop it? You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
and that's just the way it is. And like I said, if I've influenced one kid or 1,000 kids, then I went into the right profession and
yeah,
I did my job.
yeah, yeah.
You know,
So, man, listen, football season about to start. Let's talk football just for about 5 minutes, man,
sure,
before
man.
we get off the air. How are we going to do this, especially in high school, man, with
I have
with
no idea.
with the COVID? How are we going to do that?
Well, I mean, my son's going to Sacred Heart on a football scholarship,
Yes.
Brad,
Yeah.
and they've and once again, funny story. Their defense coordinator up there is a black guy,
Okay.
Mike Cook, right? We
Right.
went up there and a visit in July, end of June, July, and Brad has not stopped talking about this man since the day we went there.
Wow.
I mean,
Yeah.
he absolutely he committed there because of Coach Cook.
Wow.
I
Wow.
mean, so once again,
Yeah.
we're not looking at Coach Cook, the black guy. We're looking at Coach Cook, the role model, the coach,
Role
the
model, the
mentor, the
football mind. Yeah.
football guy. Yep.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the guy's just a great guy.
Right.
But so anyway, but Brad has these Zoom meetings all the time with Sacred Heart, and they don't even know what they're doing yet, man.
Wow.
So filtering down to the high school, I mean, we've had a couple meetings, and we don't know. I mean, the governor puts out June 22nd, but you can only be groups of 25 with no contact, and I mean, I have no idea, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know as much as I do right now, Ralph.
Right. Right. I just didn't know how you guys were, staying in contact. Are we still giving out playbooks? Are we still?
Oh yeah. Oh wow. I'm a visual learner. So our
Yeah.
defensive playbook's about that thick.
Right. Right.
So because that's how I learn best. So I just expect them to learn the same way. But
So are the kids getting together on their own? I know you can't be out there.
right.
You
It's,
can't be out there.
it's funny you bring that up because, and once again, I mean, Highland, I think we had 2 white kids starting last year,
Okay.
in all honesty. So we're a predominant black team, right?
Right.
So one of our kids who, I mean, this kid is number 1 in the junior class. He's an African American kid.
Yeah.
He's number 1 in his class. He made all South Jersey at the touchdown club. One of the best kids I've ever met. I mean, he's an Ivy League, Patriot League kid all the way, right?
Okay.
So
Okay.
he texted me today, and he's like, I'm going to get together with some of the O-line. Is there anything you want me to work on? back and forth. I said, work on this. Ended it with, what a great leader you are, and I love you, man.
Wow.
And he texted me back, I love you too, coach. And you know what? I'm not ashamed to tell a 17, 18-year-old kid I love him.
Right. No.
And once again, color does not matter.
Right.
He's a black kid. I told him I love him. He told me he loves me back. I don't care, man. That's how it should be.
It's how it should be. And again, you've created that culture. You guys at Highland have done such a great job to create the culture to where that's the way the world should be.
Yeah.
That's the way the world should be. And even when we are misunderstood and we don't see, we can still talk it out. We can still talk about it and there's still be love there.
Right.
I mean, Drew Brees heard it yesterday. I mean, we were crucifying him.
Yeah, he was. Yep.
And, a couple of guys said what they said. And I read his apology. I don't know if he wrote it, but I read it. And
he put out a video tonight too.
Okay, I have to check it out. I have to check it out. And I believe he's sincere. I don't believe he's a bad guy. I don't believe he's a racist. I just, read the room, Drew. Read the room, brother. Read the room before you.
Well, it was, listen, if that's how he feels, and if you would ask me 4 years ago with Colin Kaepernick, like when they first started taking the knee and stuff, I hated it.
Yeah.
I really did, man, because I didn't understand.
But you took the time to understand.
Exactly right. Yeah. Exactly right. And see, by understanding it, you're like, man, and how ironic that George Floyd's killed with a cop taking a knee on his neck, just like Kaepernick. I mean, the side-by-side pictures of that are haunting.
Yeah.
I'll be the first to admit, I mean, you know me, I don't have a racist bone in my body, but I hated that taking the knee stuff. Yeah. I really did. And once again, you're right. I took the time to try to understand. It was not against the military. It was not against this. It was the overall just, and you know what? This isn't even a police issue. Yes, this incident resulted in a white cop killing a black man who should be alive. And if he was white, would have been put in the car, and we wouldn't even be having this conversation right now. Right. But it's a humanity issue. It's a society issue. It's a 200-year talk that we haven't had yet.
Yeah.
This incident is the lightning rod for this. But
let me ask you this, Coach. Let me ask you the tough question, Coach. Tough question. We back balling. We're back there playing. We're back to playing games, stuff like that. You got a black kid on your team. He says, "Coach, I just ain't standing for the national anthem, man. I love you, but I'm not. I just ain't doing it, man. I'm just not doing it. I'm gonna play ball, but." How do you handle that? How do you?
You want to know how I will handle that? Yeah. 2016 and then again in 2020. Okay. Yeah. 2016, it would have bothered me.
Right.
It would have bothered me a lot. Yeah. 2020, I'm kneeling with them.
Wow. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. My brother right there, man. Yep. Man, listen. Thank you for letting me pick your brain. Thank you for talking. Let me just make it public. Thank you for being the first of many whites that I know to pick up the phone and call me and say, "Hey, man, how you doing? How's your head? I know you hurting. I'm here for you, man. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Always.
Thank you for being the hero of this show, man. Thank you for not being afraid to talk about it and tackle some of these issues, man. Yep. And this is you are definitely people get a chance to see who I surround myself with. Just two adults that can talk some stuff out, have some things out, man. And I wish you a lot of luck this year.
I appreciate it, man. Just imagine if the rest of America take a black guy, the white guy, black woman, white woman, and pair them up, and everybody do what we just did.
Yeah.
How much better this would be.
America be a whole better.
We're the most powerful everything country in the world, and one of the things the other night was, we're over there fighting ISIS and we're over there fighting Taliban and whatever else, and we're here killing each other. Yeah, like it's just so sad, man. And real quick, another thing, like I see all these stats, black on black kill more than this, but blacks are 12 times more likely to kill. That's not the point. That's not what this is about, man.
No,
people don't get that.
Don't get it.
They don't get it, man.
They don't get it. I mean, that whole black on black crime, and I mean, there's a whole reason why it's that. First of all, you kill what you're around. You
Right.
kill what you are around.
Right.
Right. And we are forced because of systemic racism to always be packed together.
Right.
So we're trying to break down an entire system
Right.
that allow us to move freely and be treated like the rest of
and that right there, going back to Tony Dungy today,
yeah.
unless you're willing to open your ears, open your heart, listen,
Yeah.
be acceptable of differences and accept other people, it's never going to change, man.
Yeah.
Like
Man,
you said,
I applaud you, man. I thank you, man. Thank you for doing what you're doing. Hey, guys, he's one of the greatest defensive coordinator minds I have ever been around. Hands down. I've been around football. I'm 52. I've been around since for 48 years. He is one of the greatest defensive minds. Man, where are you going from here? After Highland this year, man, are you going to go to college, to NFL? Or you have any aspirations?
Well, it's funny you say that because obviously I'm going to stay put until Brad's done at Sacred Heart.
Okay.
Coaching in Highland doesn't interfere with me going to see him play. If it did, I'd be done. I'd be retired now.
Father first.
Yep. Faith family football, man.
Yeah.
And but after that, I've got some stuff in the works. We're talking about retiring to Florida, maybe getting into a big high school down there, or possibly, I know some people from all these years of coaching, some connections, and getting into college. And I've had a couple opportunities already, but seeing him play is more important. So
yeah. I know you're going to end up on the college scene, man, and you move to Florida, just have an extra room for me and the wife when we come.
Anytime, buddy. Anytime.
Absolutely. Guys, you've been watching the Ralph Graves Jr. show. You've been listening to this podcast, and thank you for just sitting and listening to me and my friend talk. And in America, we're going to work this thing out. Yep. We're going to work it out. We're going to work it out. We're going to work it out. We're going to have to learn. We have to learn to work this thing out because we're all Americans. But subscribe to this YouTube channel. Tell somebody all about it. John, once again, thanks for coming, man. And I'll talk to you again soon.
Love you, man.
Love you too, bro.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.